St. Andrews International School Bangkok, and I actually have a guest with me here, Mr. Bartok Moskwa. Bartok, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me okay, Stephen?
I can hear you well. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
yeah.
I'm so pleased. I think, I'm gonna call you out on this. I think you may be the only person has joined me all 4 years for the virtual
Okay,
space.
well, we've enjoyed it. It's always good to chat with you, but we it's a nice shortcut for a lot of families who are considering 10 schools, and it's just a nice place for them to kind of meet all these schools
Yeah,
all in one day, and then from here they go and they'll visit the schools that I think are most interesting for them. So it's always nice to be a part of this. Thanks for inviting us again.
No, no, absolutely my pleasure. And I meant that in the best way possible, that, I love seeing the same faces. You know what I mean? It not only means longevity, but also means experience. And it also means, we get to develop a relationship as well. So I want to offer you the same opportunity that our other guests have had. Set the stage for us for a St. Andrews International School Bangkok, kind of like, what's your favorite part about the school? Maybe a little bit of its history, maybe a little bit of its pedigree.
Sure. Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm always think asked to cover, it can be a little bit confusing. There are a lot of St. Andrews schools in Bangkok, and so there's history that predates my 7 years at the school, but really now those are separate schools. And so for us, we're since 2013 we are the Nord Anglia International St. Andrews International School Bangkok. So our location, if any of the viewers are confused about which one I'm representing today, where our primary school is on Sukhumvit 71, and it's kind of tucked in a little bit on 71, so you might not see it from the main road. And then for our older, we call our high school, it's more of a secondary campus, from year 7 to graduation. That's at Ekamai BTS. So that one, if those families who are living here in Bangkok, I'm sure they would have seen either riding on the BTS or driving by, just because the location is really great for families who do want to live at the Sukhumvit area. So we made that move about 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, that where we took our older students, moved them into the secondary campus, and then we're able to kind of reconfigure our school in 71 to be focused specifically on the younger students. So there's a lot of stability in the school, in that, yes, we've been around as a school for more than 25 years here in Bangkok. The stability with having Mr. Paul Schofield, who's our head of school for over 20 years. I don't know if he appreciates me saying that, but it is something that is quite unique. And I think it adds that stability within the senior leadership team, that we've all been going kind of in the same direction, and we've really grown tremendously as a school over that time. I think that's really something that is a big credit to not just Paul, but the team around him, the head of the high school, head of primary school. They've all been together as a team for more than 15 years. For me, I'm just the baby of the group at 7 years. So, but I can just see how much easier it is to kind of push things forward together with the parent community to make to evolve the school and to serve our families in the best way that we can. It's allowed us to grow tremendously. Our school, we're an inclusive school, so that's something that's always been a part of our of our mandate. And that, I think when Paul first started here, we had 11 students in the high school. Now we have 1,300 in the high school. And now really we're in a position where, yes, there's families will come to us and they have 3 children, and maybe 2 of the children are really strong academically independent students, and maybe the 3rd child needs lots of support. And it's always been part of our mission and vision of the school, in that we will support the entire family. We'll create those support opportunities for the student that needs help in certain areas, and it's allowed us to build a high needs program for those students with the most complicated needs. It's allowed us then to hire specialists into the school to support students who might need that kind of support, but also children in the mainstream. They might develop some challenges as they go through the school, and might be academic, might be social emotional, and it's nice to be able to have all those resources within the school with our therapists that are in the school that can support our students and help to support the family as a whole. And of course, once they're in the school, I also think it helps with having that nice variety of students. Something that our head of school talks about quite often is, yeah, this is what life is like. We're going to be surrounded by all kinds of people in our life, and they're not all exactly like us. And so it's nice to have those experiences where at times maybe the students have to be leaders, and other times they're part of a team, and maybe they're receiving help, or maybe they're providing help for their friends. So these are all these kind of soft skills, which I'm sure many schools are talking about here. I think that's a big part of our vision for many, many years. For us, now that we have become, I think, maybe the second largest school in Bangkok in terms of number of students, it's allowed us to offer lots of extracurricular activities at the primary school. Students can expect between 20 and 25 different options every day after school, and then of course also on the weekends there'll be options for them. And it's great because when my children joined in year 2 and year 5, they were coming from a smaller school. They didn't quite have those opportunities yet, and that's something that really excited them. It really gave them a chance to discover where their passions are and what do they really like. And now that they're teenagers in year 9 and in year 12, it's also given them direction into the areas that they think that they most want to focus on. So when they get into, we do IGCSE program up through year 11. And then for the final 2 years, we do IB diploma program. Although that's not the only pathway that we have. We do have an IBCP, which is more career-related pathway. We also have BTech, which is a little bit more hands-on pathways as well for students. Majority of our students will of course go for the IBDP. And I think by then they already have a pretty good understanding of what it is that really excites them in school. And so they're not making blind choices, but they're making choices around their experiences at the school. And so that's really lovely to see. I mean, I'm seeing it with my children as they're picking subjects, and is subjects maybe I would not have expected them to choose just given their personalities, but because they tried it, and because the drama, for example, they tried drama and something, wow, this is really fantastic. And so my son is doing drama at IGCSE, and now he chose it as one of his IB subjects. And wow. This is, it's a benefit to having that bigger school, because I think in the past, when we were smaller, I think we could only offer the core subjects, if you will, but now if you're a student who likes photography and you really want to take it further, we offer that at those higher levels. We dance at IGCSE as well. So it can be a hobby, but can actually be something where students can choose to really extend themselves further in those areas. And that's a nice advantage when we have a graduating class of 150 students plus. It means we can offer options that we couldn't when our graduating class was 20 or 30 or 40 students. It just means that there's that you reach that critical mass where all of a sudden we make sure that anything our students might want to consider, there's likely other students that also have that same interest. And then so we put on that course for them, and that's something they can finish with. And then of course that sets them up really, really nicely for university after that.
I love it. I mean, I'm not even sure what question to ask. You just put such a nice painted a nice picture there. We do have a question from our chat though. You talked quite a bit about learning support, but they're asking about, do you have an area for extended learners?
Yeah, so because these year groups are quite large, meaning as like a year 7 student who's equivalent of 6th grade in a U.S. system. Actually, where I went through a U.S. system growing up, we have 10 classes, so that's about 220 students, and so you would expect there'll be in that cohort there'll be students who kind of match the ability levels and interest groups that. They're going to find other students who are maybe very strong in some areas and other areas where they need lots of support. And so generally the way that we do the extended opportunities for students who are already doing really, really well in some areas is to offer those as an ECA, so as an after school. Now, of course, there's differentiation in the classroom, and there's support for those students who are maybe not as confident in certain core concepts, but for those students who are already at that high level, I think what the question is asking is, they'll have those chances to extend themselves certainly after school. There's differentiation in the classroom. It's really quite interesting. I'll walk into like a maths, because maths is a good indicator for this, is that a good example of this. We'll walk into a classroom and yes, they're all learning about maybe the same concept, but because it's differentiated, the students who are already, well versed in and have a lot of confidence in this area of learning, they might be doing something a little bit deeper within that area of learning than those students who need maybe that's their first time going through some of this material. So most of it is covered through differentiation, but if students are well beyond that kind of what you would consider a normal differentiated classroom, yeah, there's opportunities for them to be a part of ECAs and different. We have some students really into their maths, and they're going through different conferences. Some of them might be with our Nord Anglia schools. We have 88 schools around the world, so there's opportunities for them to get involved not just within our school, but within the other schools. There's two of our schools in Thailand, but we have schools all over Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, US, and they will have some opportunities to travel for different maths experiences in other countries, obviously as they get older. So that's really where we want them to kind of take themselves further beyond what it would just be offered during their curriculum time.
Mm. If I'm a family that's just moving to Bangkok right now, or I'm considering a move, maybe a parent is changing positions or accepting a position of some kind, and I'm and my children are kind of coming in mid stride, into either your lower school or your secondary school. What are some of the challenges that you see, or what are some of the questions that you get from parents about how to make that transition? What sort of welcoming committee they get, buddy system, talk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue for me that I always talk about, you've obviously been in Thailand for a long time as well. And so I have nothing but great things to say about Thailand. The one difficult thing I would say is the traffic. And so my advice to all families is always, once you find the school that you really, really love, you'll be just much happier if you can find residence, whether it's an apartment or a condo or house close to the school. It just makes life easier, and it allows the children then to explore those after school activities without having to worry about the extra 30 minutes of traffic that they'll face by doing an ECA. In terms of settling in, I mean, being a large school, I think it's maybe a little bit easier to settle into a school like ours, because we're always going to have new students joining us. So it's not just your children who are coming, who are the new kids. Actually, they'll be joined by a large number of other new students who will be joining us. I think having those ECAs is a really nice way for them to settle in, because they'll be making friendships around shared interests. And so it's not just, oh, well, we look the same, so I guess we have to be friends. That's not a really great basis for a friendship. I think, ideally, the students will make friends around, this is my friend from the badminton team. This is my friend from drone flying club. This is my friend from robotics. This is my friend from Spanish after school. And then all of a sudden they're starting to make those connections with other children. And they're enjoying school. And this is something that, unfortunately, when I was a kid, wasn't really a big part of a school's remit, which is happy children will want to do their best. They will try their hardest, not just because mom and dad are really supporting them to do it, but because it's important to them. And ideally, that's where we want to be with our students, where they're pushing themselves because they enjoy it. They really love it. I'm lucky I get to see this every day when I go into the classrooms, and I compare it against my own upbringing and going into schools where things were much more traditional. And so it means that I would say this new approach to learn, this modern approach to learning, is something it's more about those soft skills rather than content. So sometimes part of my job is to explain this to parents, and for those who agree with this approach, they're going to love our school. For those who are looking, let's say, for a more traditional approach where the children are maybe extra homework and more about really being immersed in just the academic side, maybe they find another school that's a better fit for them. Not to say that, of course, we're not an academic school. We just approach it from a different way, in that we want the children to get excited by their learning, so that they will be pushing themselves rather than putting that on parents and teachers to try to motivate them and inspire them. And it could be academics, but it also could be, in addition to that, arts and sports and music. I think we have some of the biggest programs in the city. It's an inclusive program, not just in admissions, but inclusive in, just to give an example, in sports. For under-9 girls football, we have 3 teams. And yes, the first team is very, very good, and we're really proud of them. They have competitive opportunities and do really, really well. But for me, I'm more proud of the fact that it's not just those top 10 girls and everyone else is on the sideline watching them, but they're part of the program as well. And we try to find some competitive opportunities for them if that's something that they want to have. And that's it's been lovely to see the development of these programs, so that the students who are new to an activity, they won't be cut from the team because they didn't qualify in terms of their ability. Of course, they won't qualify because they haven't actually tried playing tennis before. But so we want to make sure that we have a tennis program that is inclusive to those students who are already playing at a very high level, and those students who are brand new to the activity and getting all the benefits that the other students would get. So I would say for us, that would be a huge part of that settling in, is just finding friends that have those same interests, and then making sure creating opportunities for parents to get to know the other parents. We host activities for parents as well after school, for them to join different programs to get to know the other parents and maybe develop some friendships. So that's a really nice way for both our Thai and our international parents to kind of get to know one another, and through these different activities that our very active parent-teacher group organizes for them.
Fantastic. Final question for you, Bartek. Talk to me about the end of school life. So in your secondary school, these are the kids that are graduating with an IB or whatever path they happen to choose. Yep. Talk to me about your connection with universities, with guiding students to lift off into that next phase in life. Like what does that look like?
So the students would, of course, those who finish the IB diploma program, there's lots of different pathways out there in the Bangkok community. We quite like, obviously, the IB. We chose it for our school. We think it's not just an academic qualification, but there's things like extended essay. There's things like TOK, which is a theory of knowledge, and you probably know about most of this already. But maybe some of the parents don't, especially if they have young children. It's something where the students are choosing 6, maybe 7 subjects in those final 2 years. I quite like that, because I know when I was a student, I know certainly with my kids, they're not exactly sure which direction they want to pursue. So I'm happier that they're doing 6 or 7 rather than 2 or 3. With 2 or 3, you're kind of committing to a direction that in 2 years' time, as a student, you think, ooh, actually, I prefer another way. But if you've only done those 2 or 3 subjects, I guess, for some students, I think they benefit from having more of those options. And then it means that when they apply to university, obviously with an IB diploma, it's something that's much, much appreciated across the universities I get to speak with. They come to visit us on every tour that they do, meaning universities from the US and Canada and UK and all over Europe and Australia as well. We have 4 full-time academic counselors in the high school who are working with students to help them choose the subjects that would kind of put them in the best position for success and getting into the school that they would like. They're really, really helpful in keeping them kind of on schedule and helping parents to make those decisions as well. And we have 75% of our children get into their first choice university. And of course, we're very proud of those who are getting into those top schools, and that's been their goal and that's been their pathway. But for us, we're just as proud of those students. Maybe that was never part of their profile, but getting into a really, really good school. Okay, that's not maybe one of the top 100 in the world. That's okay. We're still very proud of those students. It might be an art school. It might be we had a pilot school. That's their passion. And so that's not something. It doesn't always have to be. Well, you have to get into these top universities, or else somehow it's not success. And so for us, we define success by looking at the individual student and what is their pathway. How are they going to be able to find the school of their choice? because it will be different for different students. So it's great. I've been able to make a lot of friends in the parents groups, and it's nice because they check in with me and they make me feel confident that it's a good pathway. The students who go to universities after IB, they feel it's a really like a very natural transition into university, because those final 2 years they have to be very independent, which is what they have to be at first year of uni, right? Where they have to be able to manage their time and do all those things on their own. It's not the hands aren't being held for those final 2 years. They have to kind of develop their own kind of individual management of their time, and that will lead to success when they get to university.
Fantastic. Mr. Bartok Moskwa, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning today to speak with us. Really, really appreciate it. Always a pleasure to have you here on the virtual summit. And we'll be directing a couple questions to you as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much.
Folks, at this time out, I want to just introduce St. Andrews International School Bangkok and give their video presentation. St. Andrews International School Bangkok is one of 73 schools in the Nord Anglia Education family. They offer a British educational curriculum with an international perspective that begins in nursery and leads up to IGCSE examinations in year 11 and culminates with the International Baccalaureate Diploma after completing year 13. They are an inclusive school that invites children from all backgrounds and abilities to participate in the educational offerings on their diverse campus. Without further ado, I will tee up their video. Thank you.